Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm from TWG. We're a Toronto-based digital product studio that's been around since 2002. I'm also a mentor at a code school called HackerU, and I'm here to talk about making your React app progressive. Let's start with a definition. Google describes progressive web apps as apps that are reliable, fast, and engaging. This means no janky scrolling, no slow-to-respond interfaces, and being able to provide a good offline experience using service workers. Another way to think about this is to imagine if you're building a house. You start building a set of stairs up to an entrance, and you think this is pretty good, but it's only good for people who are able to easily climb those stairs. So after a bit of thought, you re-engineer it, and you add in a guardrail and maybe a ramp. What's the net result? More people. In the same way that a guardrail and ramp helps more people enter your house, making a web app progressive allows more people to access your website. What's the business case for this? Making your web app progressive can bring up to more 10 times cheaper people into your site than a native app. Web apps are easy to discover and find. As you begin to think more intentionally about building an advanced progressive web app, here are some key concepts. They're not the focus of this talk, but I recommend looking up these topics if you haven't heard of them before. You should use these tools, patterns, and design architectures to make your app render faster, be interactive faster, and provide a good experience even when offline. Think about a global audience on 2G and 3G connections and users who have limited data. The goal is to make your site load faster and keep file sizes low. Ideally, your time to interactive should be less than 5 seconds on a 3G connection. Right now, the average React app takes 11 to 12 seconds on a 3G connection. So, there's no need to load up all of your JavaScript in one gigantic file. Split your code up into chunks. Webpack can help you do this by splitting up your vendor files, but also by splitting up your code by route. I won't discuss implementation in this talk because we had to talk about this earlier, and it also depends on what version of Webpack you're running, what version of React Router, and whether you're rendering your React app server-side. Many people think they're already splitting their code by route, but they're actually just splitting out their vendor code, so this is something that you should be aware of. There are now ways to load your JavaScript and other assets in parallel. One way I want to talk about is the preload attribute. Preload is really important because it doesn't block the window load event. This means that users are able to access your site and interact with your site even while JavaScript and other assets are loading in the background, getting ready to execute when they reach your next route. Webpack can also write this tag for you, which I recommend. Right now, we already have caching of web assets, but it only works when the user has a solid network connection. But with service workers, we can now serve web pages and other assets, including API calls, even when the user's offline. A big gotcha to be aware of, however, is hashing. It's very common these days to add a hash to the end of all of your files so that users get the latest copy. However, this isn't a good idea for files that have not changed. Take care to tweak your Webpack settings so you don't change the hash for files that haven't changed, such as your vendor files, your logos, and your font files on every single Webpack build. Service workers, use them. Use pre-existing libraries so you're not writing boilerplate code over and over. There's also Webpack plugins that use these libraries for you so you don't even have to use the library yourself. Using service workers will reduce the amount of time users have to wait when they revisit your site, even when they're on offline or flaky internet connections. So before you feel overwhelmed, your app may already be on its way to being a very progressive web app. Are you using HTTPS on your site? That's great. That means users are using your site over a secure, encrypted connection, and you're able to use service workers. Are your pages responsive on tablet and mobile? Do you have an add to home screen button? Does every page have a proper URL? Is your site searchable and SEO friendly? Tools such as Lighthouse will help you analyze your site and give you a checklist of what you've already done to make your web app progressive and what you need to work on. So, in summary, if you want to make an advanced progressive web app in React, you should split your code by routes using Webpack and React Router, load your scripts and other assets in parallel when possible in a non-blocking way. Don't change the hashes on files and assets that aren't actually changing. And use service workers to provide a good experience even when users are offline or have flaky internet connections. All these things will bring down load times, help your site work with flaky network connections, and allow your app to be accessible by global audiences on 2G and 3G internet connections. Thanks very much for listening.